Good evening, televiewers. Thanks for joining us once more on this, your favorite program on Full TV, Game of Thrones. Of course, today we have two major topics that are of great importance this very evening. So we're talking about a CPDM at 41, and is it an error of action or just a procrastination? This is what Cameroonians will be talking, giving up their own opinion on what is actually transforming or transpiring in the country concerning the political party, Cameroon's People Democratic Movement. Of course, apart from that, we'll be talking about the World Trade Organization Ministerial Conference 14, of course, which is unfolding in Cameroon. Is it the possible atmosphere or avenue for Cameroonians to gain promotions, or when it concerns economic development? Is it another platform for Cameroonians, of course, to have stability when it comes to financial income? This is what Cameroonians will be talking this very day, and it is no news that we have a plethora of panelists who will be discussing in the course of this program. And with us, we have, of course, a civil society activist who happens to be Numfo Lauso Nangwa. He's somebody that, of course, you know, his elaborations are of great importance, and he's present to make sure that this topic be, of course, of great importance to you. Good evening and welcome once more to the program.
Good evening, Phil. Good evening, televiewers. Good evening, dear Cameroonians. I'm happy to be once again with you. Good evening to our esteemed panelists. I would like to start this program by extending my heartfelt condolences to the families of some Cameroonians that drowned in Maitu, Nkwenbamenda, as a result of torrential rains last week. Reports coming in show that 5 people were carried away and some other people were missing as a result of that flood. Equally, permit me to reach out to the family of our young daughter Divine Barga Atangana, an 11-year-old girl who was raped and killed by a man with 3 children. This child happened to have gone to this house to do her homework, but was raped and killed. So we want to use this opportunity to continue to call on the Mfundi High Court to continue to invoke Section 354, Sub 2 of the Penal Code against all those who kill children, who carry out feminicides and masculinicides, because killing has become like a joke in Cameroon, and I think time has come for the end of impunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Numfo Lauso Nangwa, a civil society activist, and of course, still on set, we have a political communication strategist who happens to be Dr. Moise Mbok. Good evening once more, and welcome to this prestigious program, Game of Thrones.
Thank you, Faye. Good evening to you. Good evening to all my co-panelists, televiewers, for all Cameroonians and the diaspora. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you
once more, Dr. Moise Mbok, for your presence. We have still with us a local development expert. He's no other person than Jangvi Roosevelt. Good evening and welcome to the program once more, Jangvi.
Good evening, Phil. Good evening to all my fellow co-panelists. Good evening to all the wonderful televiewers who are viewing us from near and far. And thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Also, we have a participant who will be getting her own opinion from the United States of America. She is no other person than Joanna Mbassa, and she is also a communicant from the MP party back there. Good evening once more, and welcome. It's your first time to participate on this very program.
Good evening, Phillips, and thank you for having me. Good evening to all the panelists, and I'm very glad to be here today.
Thank you very much. I just want to believe that you're going to participate and give your own opinion, because Cameroonians, of course, are expecting a lot from you when it concerns issues like this. And the diaspora, of course, is behind you. Apart from her, we also have, we are expecting also a CPDM panelist. He will be joining us in the course of this program. I just want to believe that today is going to be hot, because these are 2 major topics that we'll be treating today. It's of great importance, and the objective is to transform the minds of Cameroonians. But before we dive directly to what we have for you tonight, let's do have this transition, and we'll be back in a jiffy. One, and a lot of expectations are roaming around as Cameroonians are asking a question. After 41 years, the CPDM party has been installed in Cameroon. It was born, of course, in the northwest region of Cameroon in Bamenda in 1985, and under the strong instruction or under the organization of its national president, President Paul Biya. 41 years after, people are asking a lot of questions. Is this party actually meeting its objective, as a lot of situations have been unfolding in Cameroon, as Cameroonians are accusing some of the party officials, who happens to be government officials working in various offices, of embezzlement, while other Cameroonians are saying that a lot needs to be done when it concerns infrastructural development and other things. Of course, our panelists will be airing out their own opinion concerning this. I'll commence with you back there in the United States of America. Of course, Juan Mbassa, you are, of course, an opposition political party member and also a communicant of this party. You're talking about the MP3 party in Cameroon. You are in the US, and it is no news that a lot of people back there in the diaspora are commenting on the actual situation when it concerns the Cameroon's People Democratic Party, movement party in Cameroon. Now, tell us, 41 years after this party has been installed in the country and a lot of things has been going on, do you think that this party, of course, is on the right track?
Thank you for asking that question. I definitely do not think that it's on the right track, and it has not been on the right track for the past 41 years. So from the viewpoint of the diaspora, to start romanticizing time, 41 years under the CPDM is not a short-term experiment. It's a full political era. And after 4 decades under the President Paul Biya, Cameroon are still waiting for what should have been achieved. Procrastination is not always loud. It has often disguised as progress, ongoing reform, or strategic patience. But when the same issue persists year after year, we must call it the way it's supposed to be called. We must call it a delay in action. We're going to take a little example on the youth unemployment. It's still a sticking bomb. Look at the decentralization. Promises for years as a way of empower local government, but yet in reality, many local authorities still have real autonomy and resources. Let's consider the infrastructure inequality. Yes, visible project in major cities, but vast rural area remains neglected. And what about the government's accountability? Corruption scandals emerge. Investigation and analysis make change remains limited. So I know in Cameroon we're going to have people that will tell me that change time, but 41 years is not time, it's an opportunity. And the opportunity does not translate into transformation, it becomes stagnation. So the real issue is not whether something has been done, it's whether enough has been enough. So the clear answer is Cameroon has not moved at the pace that the people deserve. So at this stage, population is no longer a phase, it has become a governing staff. And after 41 years, we are no longer judging intention. We are judging the result, and the result delayed are result denied. And I'm going to end at that.
Juan Mbassa, it is very obvious that a lot of things has been done in Cameroon when it concerns infrastructural development. So you can't say that nothing has been done, Juan.
Yes, like I said, there's some stuff that has been done, but the project, the big project has not been done. Look at the road in Madagascar, for example. They are waiting for the Pope to come to fix the road. The people in Madagascar have been waiting for 8 months. For 8 good months. Now because the Pope, we are going to quickly fix it. So are we waiting for some big personality to come to Cameroon to fix it? What the actual people in Cameroon are struggling. So we are going to wait for someone to come to visit us for us to actually fix it. So yes, there are things that have been done, but at what pace? We are going to struggle. They will start a construction road, they will not finish it. And this is how Cameroon lives into. Look at Yaoundé and Douala. The road has not been done for how many years? They are still waiting for some part to be done. Yes, the projects are being...
Of course, Juan Mbassa, we have... okay. Right on, you are still on the end.
They have the resource... But what don't they prioritize the Cameroonian, they will prioritize people from the outside. And that's the main question. That's why I said procrastination.
Thank you for your contribution, Joanne. Of course, we have with us civil society activist who happens to be Numfo Lawson Goa. It is very obvious that for 41 years today, Cameroon has witnessed a lot of development when it concerns infrastructure. Have a lot of projects, of course, that are visible to Cameroonians. And recently, we are seeing that the second phase of the Douala-Yaoundé highway, which of course is under the regime of President Paul Biya and under the regime, of course, of the ruling party CPDM in the country. We've seen a lot of incentives given to farmers in the country, but do you think this is enough?
Thank you, Phil. I think to approach this topic, I would like us to look at some wordings in that in the phrasing of our topic. CPDM at 41, era of action or procrastination. I would like us to look at the word procrastination. The English Advanced Level Dictionary defines procrastination as the intentional and unnecessary delay of a task or decisions, despite knowing that its outcome will be negative. And you see, all of this translates into what it is characterized by last-minute delays in works, in projects, quick fixes, you know. Procrastination has always been described as a thief of time because it involves wasting time on important issues. They are not saying that the CPDM has not been posing acts on the field. They have been posing acts, but how are these acts like? Acts, you know, achievements or realizations that hardly go to an end. And even those that go to an end, they get spoiled after 3 months, after 6 months. You know, you see a party, a government that is not serious in its activities. You realize that this is a party that does not have any planning, any policy planning in its realizations. You can see the nature of the unreadiness of this government, especially in the Anglophone crisis. Had it been this was a forward-looking government, the Anglophone crisis that had its roots right in the 80s, the CPDM would have given a quick solution to this problem. We have issues like decentralization that was instituted in the Cameroon Constitution in 1996. But as of 2016, 28 years afterwards, decentralization was still a far off cry. And that the absence of that decentralization and many other institutional reforms are responsible for the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions, which has kept the nation divided for the past 10 years. It means that the CPDM has not done its homework as the governing party.
For Lawson, there is a political stability in Cameroon?
No. It is relative. That statement is relative.
What do you mean by relative?
When you talk about political stability, each election in Cameroon is followed by post-election violence. And at this moment that we are speaking, the person who came second in our election, in the presidential election,
it is not the CPDM party that had to implement any form of violence.
No, we are saying that the governance of the CPDM has not ensured, sustainable measures that can guarantee transfer of power between the governing party and the opposition. The governance of the CPDM has not guaranteed, free, fair, and transparent elections that can enable, the opposition party leaders or the main opposition party leaders after an election to call the incumbent and congratulate it. You see, because you see, the electoral code has a lot of problems. The constitution has a lot of problems. Things that Cameroonians have been complaining about, the party has not given a solution to them.
Numfo Lawson Goa, if you want to compare the era of the CPDM and the previous party that was manned by Madu Ahijo, do you think the party in power presently hasn't done more than expected?
President Ahijo's era was a one-party state. And during that period, I think that Cameroonians were focused on one direction. And at that time, there was more stability and more development than we have now. Right now, with multi-faceted centers of approach and many other ways of looking at things, the nation is instead breaking up. I don't know why. And all of this is because there is lack of perfect coordination between the government, from the government towards the citizens. Multipartism is not a bad thing. I think that the greatest problem that the CPDM has as a ruling party is the absence of coordination, proper coordination of the activities of the state, and the corruption that many of its members have. You know, it is often said that he who goes to the altar of equity goes with clean hands. If you are corrupt, I don't think that you can implement governing measures or governance measures that would bring respect from the people that you are ruling.
Thank you very much, Anum, for Lawson. Go out, get your own opinion. You are a communication political strategist. It is no news that a lot has been done. You were, of course, a member of the FSNC party, talking about with the head as Issa Chiruma, but presently you are no more, and you claim to be somebody that has no political backing, and you are a free person in the country when it concerns political ideologies. Now tell us, do you think that after 41 years the CPDM has actually done what is needed of Cameroonians? Do you think at this particular moment, after 41 years, everything has been done to make sure that Cameroonians do gear up towards development, infrastructural development, and economic stability? Now, 41 years after, at this moment, in this month of March, Cameroonians, the CPDM party, celebrated 41 years in power and 41 years in existence. Now, tell us, do you think the CPDM party actually meets up the expectations of Cameroonians, and do you think that a lot needs to be done?
You know, for me, thank you for the question. For me, first of all, to draw a bilan, you must have a projection. What are the plans? What are we planning to do? When we want to do those things, and so on. Now, there is two things I want to say. There is a CPDM and there is a government. But if we see the government as a country ruled by the CPDM, we can then mix them and do a common bilan.
It is a party, and the president in the country, of course, who happens to be the national president of the Cameroon's People Democratic Movement, manpower today, thanks to the channel of the Cameroon's People Democratic Movement, the CPDM party.
Themselves, they used to say that there is a CPDM and there is a head of state. There are two different things. They used to say it. And for us to mix it together is somehow difficult. And we want themselves to give us a report, at least to say something about their own bilan. Because today, when you say something, they will say, oh, we are talking against them. When you say a lot or much more, many other people will say, you are maybe already bribed and you are talking on their behalf. So today, I believe if the CPDM is serious, they must draw a bilan. I took the speech of Minister Nkwete when they were talking about what they have done so far and the bilan they can draw. And he said some few things I want to bring out here: peace, democracy, national unity, stability of institutions, the economy is increasing, and so on. So in that bilan, he was saying that this is what CPD have done so far. And they congratulated themselves. The problem is now that when it comes to CPDM as a party, they're doing well because they are ruling the country, they are ruling the 10 regions, they have most MPs,
that's a positive
mayors.
Information.
No, that is what himself he said.
And you do abide to this.
I don't want to go and just talk anyhow, because it's a serious matter, and I can assure you this platform is a serious platform.
But you appreciate the effort of the CPDM and what they are expected to do.
I'm talking as an analyst, so I will just take fact. I will not take feelings. I'm taking fact. And when it comes to fact, they have the president, they have the 10 regions, they have MPs, they have mayors, and so on. So they have a lot. But for me, and this is where it becomes interesting, they have everything it takes to rule Cameroon, to develop the country, and bring more jobs for youth, more opportunities, open more doors for Cameroonians. That's why many Cameroonians here and abroad, they are wondering why they have all this power and they are not doing things the way Cameroonian wants.
Dr. Moise Mbok, you come to discover that President Paul Biya, who happens to be the national president of this party for the past years, has been implementing rigor and moralization. We just saw how recently people are being sent to the Kundengi Central Prison based on allegations of embezzlement, and we've seen a lot of infrastructural development. We've seen how basic education has been, of course, transformed, and it is now compared to systems abroad. Don't you think, thanks to the party in power and the ideologies that the CPDM do have, this ought to be appreciated and more needs to be expected in the days ahead?
No one in Cameroon ever said that nothing has been done. Things have been done. Some poorly, like roads. Some somehow good, averagely. But things have been done. The problem is that the population, the Cameroonians here and abroad, are working towards excellence. And they believe that with the speeches and the discourse we have heard from the head of state and other ministers, they are showing that we can do much, much better. And when you expect 10 and they bring 5, it's something, but it's not the 10. So what we want to say, and we want them to understand it, peacefully, so that this opportunity they have, these 7 years they have, they do more than ever, because they have the opportunity to prove us wrong. So what they promise, what Cameroonians want in their campaign, in their speeches, in what they are saying with the budget, in the National Assembly, what they used to present is that Cameroon can do much more better. Cameroon can develop himself much more better. This excuse of embezzlement, for me, is a lack of governance, because you have to foresee those things and prevent them. Somebody cannot embezzle a kind of amount we used to hear here, and it's normal. It's not normal, because in a normal vigilance, when somebody embezzles, let's say even only 100,000, the control can at least start to see that something is missing. But we're talking about billions, so something is wrong somewhere.
Are they members of the CPDM who had to embezzle this huge amount of money?
Most of them are members of CPDM, but the problem is not that they are members of CPDM. They are the consequences, because when it comes to the consequences, all Cameroonians are involved or are touched by the consequences. So what I want to say to close for this first time is that the CPDM can do much more, but it seems they are doing everything to be in charge, to be in power, to be in control. And they're not communicating enough with population to know what they want, so that they can perform things. They used to perform things without the will or the knowledge of the population, and it's not counting for them. So they can present things, they can show things. We have done this, we have done that. But if the population are not involved in the process, it seems as if they are not doing it enough.
Thank you very much, Dr. Moise Mbok. Come to you at Changvi Roosevelt. Yeah, you have something to say.
Yes, I would like to add something to go on the same direction of my panelists. I would say that in Cameroon we have a problem of governance, because the government that we have are more corrupt than they're actually doing the work for the Cameroonians, and we have to say it loud and clear. In Cameroon, for instance, I took one example without developing.
Joanna, when you talk about the government, yeah, of course, the government is being made up of, we have a lot of people who are not of the CPDM political party. So what are you trying to air out to Cameroonians?
I am talking specifically for the CPDM, because most of the people in our governance now is the CPDM, and that's the people that we see most compared to the other political parties. So things are in Cameroon are mostly done on papers, and they are not done in real life. Madagascar wrote, the people of Madagascar, based on what,
of course, I'll come.
The mayor that section, the mayor in that section started, never finished it. Now we have our minister Kutes that comes months after, says she wants to fix the road. Why? Because Mr. Pope, the Pope is coming to Cameroon. So because the Pope is coming to Cameroon, we are going to fix a road to please him, not to please the fellow Cameroonians.
But if you are expecting a visitor in your house, you ought to keep your house clean.
Your house must always be clean.
I'm not waiting for a visitor to
my
house.
Keep the house clean.
And tidy every single day, whether I have a visitor or not.
Yeah.
Whether I have a visitor, if you were to tell me that we're going to clean the road a little bit more so it can look a little bit more nicer, I'm okay. But you're going to fix an entire road, but the people that live there are struggling. It is raining, they can't even pass by. And even the same government drives on that same road. They don't see that something is wrong with it. That when someone is coming. So that being said, we're going to need for the Pope to come every single year in Cameroon so we can have the whole Cameroon fixed. That's what you are trying to tell me. And I took another example for the youth unemployment, which is a ticking bomb. Every year, thousands of graduates enter job market with little to no opportunity. And what is the response? Committee, announcement, and pilot programs, but no large-scale transformation. So the problem is the governance that we have, the people we have in hand, and we have in our headline right now. Eventually, Mr. President said this mandate will be for the youth and the woman. Let's see if it's really for the youth and the woman. So why are we waiting for 41 years to start seeing changes this whole entire time from year zero? Yes, when the CPDM came onto the head in Cameroon, things started well, but what happened after? What happened after that? Things start switching so that we don't see what we're supposed to be seeing. And who are struggling? Not the people in the government, it's the Cameroonian population that are struggling. They are the ones that are crying. They are the ones that are dying. Look at the level of security on Cameroon. Are people actually safe right now? I'm not sure if you see the video on social media in Bafia. The guy that killed his uncle and dissected him, wanting to sell him on the market. Bafia right now is one of the most unsecure places of the entire Cameroon. The security level, people are not really safe to even walk outside at night. But people have night jobs. They have no other choice to be outside at night. That's the problem, that we are not even safe and secure in our own country. Look at Yaoundé, the number of garbage we see in Yaoundé. In Yaoundé, but we are not cleaning. We're going to wait for the election to start cleaning. We're going to wait for the election to start make sure things look good so we can vote for us again and again and again and again.
Thank you.
That is the problem.
Thank you.
Our governance.
Thank you very much, Joanna Ambassa, of course, from the United States of America. We're just receiving an Honorable Jambeng, who happens to be, of course, CPD member of the Northwest Regional Assembly, and also a president of Momo West Sangi in the Northwest region of Cameroon. Of course, I welcome once more to the program. You've been, of course, a favorite panelist to this program. Due to professional insight, you had not the opportunity, but you're back.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm delighted to be here. I want to extend warm regards to my co-panelists. I see their faces bright. I can anticipate the members of the CPD who are just coming from celebrating the anniversary of the party. Thank you very much, Honorable Jambeng. Of course, we have people who are contesting the existence of the CPDM and what it has done for the past 41 years. But before you, of course, you give your own opinion in relations to these questions and the attacks that are coming from the said. Let me get the opinion of Anchang Roosevelt, who happens to be an economist and also a local development expert. How has the party, of course, promote economic stability in Cameroon? It's a good thing people are talking. If people don't talk, it means that everything is dead. When you hear people talk, it means that there is life and people want to see things get better than they are. So the CPDM have been there for 41 years and we've done our best to transform the country from where we took it. You remember it's a transition from the period of the former President Aidjo and where we are today. In terms of the population rate, it has actually tremendously increased. Towns have also been developed. It's true that within this period there have also been challenges. And it thanks to the party's policy. Of course, you know, the state is the state, the party is the party. The fact that the head of state, President Paul Biya, is the chairman of CPDM, it shows that some vision, how we reflect, how we think, could also impact the way he runs the country. But we cannot say that entirely it is the CPDM that gives all the ideas on how the state is run. Yes, we know there are civil society. There are also members in the government who have independent character. But for the fact that Cameroon thinks that if somebody is appointed a minister or into a juicy post, he becomes automatically a minister of the CPDM. Oh, I can tell you that there are so many Cameroonians who have independent character.
It is very obvious with the former president of the president of the FSNC party, who happens to be the former Minister of Employment and Vocational Training in Cameroon.
That's it. And we equally have members of the opposition in the government. You know, look at the National Assembly. We have Cabral Ami there as a questor. We have OC as a questor. You see, just to tell you that the democracy of Cameroon is advancing. And though people still think that there are a lot to do, these things cannot be attained in a day. It's a gradual process. I heard of our sister talk so much about refuse everywhere here and there, and that's true. I think that's another call for us to begin to think how to manage our waste.
But 41 years after, why does it persist?
It doesn't matter. 41 is maturity. So we are getting matured now to start doing things the way it's supposed to be. And I think we were attempting for the other period. And at 41, we are already matured. Like she said, the head of state, President Paul said, this is the time. You remember before he said this is the Android generation. And if you look at the way people are acting on social media now, you can actually believe that it is really the Android generation. And most of them that speak so much on social media are the youths. And so when the head of state comes again and say, this mandate is devoted to women and youth, it means that deep in his program, he is looking at the rising generation with a brighter future and a lot to contribute to the development of Cameroon. So if a lady like that is giving a lot of ideas, it's just confirming that the head of state was not wrong to say that it is a period for the youth and the woman.
Thank you very much, Honorable Stephen Ojambeng, who happens to be a member of the Northwest Regional Assembly, CPDM militant, a die-hearted one, of course, and also a president of Momo West Sangi in the Northwest region.
Momo West 4 section.
Exactly. Of course, people are proud of you being a member of this party, and you're going to tell us what you've been doing to make sure that the people in this particular area have been benefiting for the past 41 years. I'll come to you, and Changvi Roosevelt. You are, of course, a local development expert and an economist also. Tell us, has the CPDM, of course, for the past 41 years, overcome this issue of unemployment in Cameroon?
Well, you know, we, from an intellectual perspective, it is dangerous to say that nothing has been done or somebody has done nothing. They call that intellectual dishonesty. Yeah. But what has been done is not enough, as all the other panelists have been saying, in terms of unemployment, in terms of economic growth. Let me start with economic growth. You know, since time immemorial till today, Cameroon has been independent since 1960, and we are in 2026, and we are still struggling with economic growth rate of 4%. That is, it doesn't make sense at all, because a matured nation of our caliber, we're supposed to have been at least, even as small as what should be a double figure, at least 10%. You see that for the past years we've been moving 3.1 from 1.1 to 2.1, 2.1 to 3. That is, we're just shifting by points every year by points. It means it's a call for concern. It means all these strategies, all these policies that we have been putting in place are not being implemented to the fullest. We've had very powerful policies, starting with the strategy paper for employment and development that they used to call it the SAE, that was later converted to the SND-TRAN, that is a national paper for development.
National Development Strategy.
National Development Strategy for 2030. which is a very nice document that if you read it, you may seem that will be more than China. But now the implementation is where the problem is. And the reason for this problem is, one, corruption, bad governance. And at the same time, we are in a nation where we have more than enough institutions to combat corruption. I can name them. We have CONAC, we have ANIF, we have the audit bench of the Supreme Court, we have a Supreme State Audit. I mean, you can imagine a nation with more than 4 institutions in charge of battling corruption. But it still remains the cankerworm, it still remains a serious problem in our nation. Because if it wasn't, this issue of impunity, people do things outrightly, and they know that they will go scotch-free. I think that's where the problem is in our nation. Is it that is a stumbling block to every aspect, development, employment, and so on, because resources have been put in place for many things to be done. But unfortunately, you don't see those things being done. We have the Ministry of Employment, the Ministry of Youth, the Ministry in charge of women, the Ministry in charge of social affairs. They all exist. But I tell you, if you do a sample survey, very few youths will tell you what they have benefited, for example, from the Ministry of Youth Affairs, of which that same ministry every year, huge budgets are being budgeted for the youth, with several programs. The Ministry of Youth Affairs has too many programs, but I doubt how many youths have benefited, how many youths have come out to say that this is what I have benefited from the Ministry of Youth Affairs.
It is very obvious that during a campaign or elections, these ministerial departments, or those who are heading these ministerial departments, always put on the CPDM uniform, supporting the head of state, President Paul Biya. And of course, some of them are members of the CPDM party, and they do give their unwavering support to President Paul Biya. We just saw how recently the party celebrated 41 years. And it was a massive celebration, jubilation. But when other parties are celebrating theirs, it is like nothing is existing in Cameroon. Now, do you think that with this presence of this party, we are moving towards an era where economy is of great importance, economic transformation is of great importance? We are seeing what is happening in the Middle East between Israel, America, and Iran. It is no news that this particular war is affecting global economy. Now, do you think that with this aspect right now at hand, and the present situation of President Paul Biya, do you think that his party, who happens to be the governing party in Cameroon, will overcome some of the economic lapses that Cameroon might face in the days ahead, or Cameroon is still facing at this moment?
You know, it's been normal to see the volume or the spectacular celebrations that we saw. It's been normal. The CPDM has been ruling Cameroon for 41 years and more even. Yes, they were created in 1985, but the head of state was president since 1982.
But that was the presidency and not the party.
Yes, that was the presidency and not the party.
And
2 years, 2 or 3 years later,
their own ideology.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is, it's normal. They have been in power for enough. They have gathered enough money. I mean, the tycoons of the CPDM. In fact, in some school of thought will say they are even the richest in Cameroon.
When we talk about gather a lot of money, where do they get this money?
Well, of course, you know, to be a minister is not no, you are not any kind of person. They have what they call fonds de souveraineté.
Cameroonians need to know better.
They have what they call fonds de souveraineté. In some ministries is millions, in others is hundreds of millions. So I mean, if we want to say that they are surviving from that their fonds de souveraineté, good and fine. But we all know that they have many other areas in which they get money from. And we still come back to corruption. And that is why you see many of our projects are not fully executed. Why? Because somebody sits in his office and say, if you don't bring my 10%, if you don't bring my 5%, if you don't bring my 20%, if you don't bring my 30%, this project will not go nowhere. And that is what we have seen.
Do you have any proof of that?
No, it's not an issue of having the proof. It's what we have seen. It's what we have seen. And we keep on seeing.
Thank you very much. Roosevelt Changvi, for your explanation. Of course, Cameroonians need to know that you are an economist and also a local development expert. I come to you, known for Lawson Gua. You are a civil society activist and you're bubbling on your chair. Now tell us more, known for Lawson Gua. Cameroonians, of course, are expecting more. People keep saying that it is time for action because of the changes that Cameroonians are witnessing presently. Recently, we just saw how the upper and the lower houses of parliament welcomes new leaders, and at the lower house of parliament, we keep seeing changes that is unfolding back there. Don't you think of this something that needs to be appreciated by the party? Because these individuals, of course, do pay loyalty or do subject some of their opinions and their power to the president, the national president of the party.
Thank you, Phil. I think, to be very honest with you, I welcome the leadership changes at the Senate and at the National Assembly. Because when you look at the Speaker of the National Assembly is 66. The President of the Senate is 65, if I'm not mistaken. This renewal, this rejuvenation of leadership at the helm of these institutions is an aspect of hope. And, you know, it is what the President himself has been talking about, intergenerational transfer of power. And we wish that this should creep down, right down to the base of the party. But my problem, you see, the CPDM has all what it takes. This is the only party in Cameroon that has the real critical mass that can affect change in this country.
Now, if you keep talking about critical mass, do you think there is an opposition that is highly functional in the country?
Let me explain what I mean by that critical mass. I'm saying that the party has people, brains, that if given the opportunity within the party, they can do something for this country. But they have not been given that opportunity within that party for several reasons. One, the manner in which political personnel in that party are recruited or are put in strategic positions is very problematic. You know that during elections, which is a period that many people are put into political positions, within the CPDM, it is mostly done through the investiture of the Central Committee. And those investitures are most of the time, what happens at the background is a lot of bribery and corruption. There's a lot of nepotism, favoritism, cronyism, and all the negative isms that you can think about. So that happens with all of that. Now, you know, evil moves faster than virtue in our normal daily lives. So that causes the wrong people to man positions of power, whereas the real people are at the background who ought to have been in those positions.
No, but no, for Lawson, it is very obvious that Cameroonians will be asking, in other countries, 2 mandates, 8 years. But in Cameroon, 41 years after, the party is still in power. Why is it that these changes are coming but after 41 years?
You see, the Cameroonian society is a very slow, society, and it's a complex society. Cameroon is the most complex country in the world. We are the only country in the world that had 4 colonial experiences. 4. Some people talk of 3, I say 4. We had the German colonial experience. We have the Anglo-French colonial experience from 1916 to 1961. And within British Southern Cameroons, Britain took Southern Cameroon and gave to Nigeria. Southern Cameroon was managed as a colony under Nigeria. So all these things have confused this nation. That is why there's some of us, in my opinion, I believe that for this nation to kickstart, we need to refound this nation.
Yeah.
We need to go back and revisit the foundation of this nation and do everything possible to bring down the walls of Francophonism and Anglophonism. Because, to be very frank with you, they affect even the CPDM. They affect all the other political parties. If that one is not revisited, even if another political party takes over, that syndrome will still haunt that party. So, what I want from the CPDM is to be open to the other political parties for the sake of this nation. If this nation is our own, let us put all the political rules and regulations on the table. Let the political playing field be level for everybody. If it is level for everybody, the majority that CPDM has will be a working. That majority will succeed. Even if it's a very slim majority, it will succeed more than this elephant majority that they have.
Thank you very much, Anu, for Lawson. I just want to remind our televiewers that if you want to communicate, the numbers are on your screen. Send your own messages on our WhatsApp. We're going to read them, communicate it to the world, so that each and every Cameroonian, of course, ought to have a possibility to air out our opinion. But before I come back to you, Dr. Moise Ambog, let me get the opinion of Joanne Mbasa, who happens to be in the United States of America. Joanne, it is very obvious that Cameroonians, of course, have been crying concerning this issue of corruption. How does the CPDM over 41 years combat corruption?
That's actually a good question. I do not know how they combat corruption, but what they do, they keep corrupting our funds, and that's actually unfortunate, and it's very much a shame that a government like Cameroon, this big country like Cameroon, have a governance of corrupted people. They rather feed themselves than feeding the population, the Cameroonian population, and that's very much a shame.
Joanna, is it the party that is corrupt, or the people of Cameroon who are corrupt?
I would say both. The party and the people of Cameroon are corrupt, because guess what? Because the government are corrupted, guess what the population is going to do? Start doing the same thing as well, because poverty, the poverty level of Cameroon, based on the World Rank Report, is about 37.5% of Cameroon, and that leaves below poverty line, and that's a high number. That's a very high number, and that should be a wake-up call. So where is the money of Cameroon going? That's the main question we ask. Every time we have a new government, they are voting for the funds of the years. What are those ministers doing with the funds that are being voted? They have funds that have been voted, and that they use for what? Because we don't see any infrastructure that have actually been growing in Cameroon. I was in Cameroon not too long ago. Yes, I saw big of certain things, but the actual thing that Cameroon have been crying for, we do not see it. We don't actually see it, and Cameroonians keep going down and down and down and below the poverty line. The richer are getting richer, and then the poor are getting poorer, and that's the big problem.
As a Cameroonian, Joanna Mbasa, you keep saying that the Cameroonians are not seeing it. What actually do you expect the CPDM party or the government in power to do so that it should be visible to all Cameroonians? Because those who are in the country are saying that a lot has been done, but more needs to be done.
Yes, a lot has been done. Like I said, I never said nothing was done, because if I do say nothing was done, that means I'm literally insulting their work. Some stuff has been done, but at what pace? That's the main problem. At what pace it was done? Look at the youth, and I mentioned that before, the youth employment. We have about 30% of Cameroonian youth age of 15 to 35% are still unemployed. That's a huge number. So you're going to tell me that those children, those kids are going to school, and once they finish school, they have no jobs. And that's the reason why a lot of those people rather risk themselves to go in the Mediterranean, to leave the country, knowing that in the Mediterranean Sea is even more dangerous than the risk that they will actually leave in Cameroon. They rather leave the country because they have no other options. Even the businesses in Cameroon is not going anywhere. People look at, for example, the cocoa market, for instance. Cameroon did not have a great balance line for the cocoa farmers to keep selling their market. I believe last year they were selling it at 5,000 a kilo, I'm sorry. And then it went down to 1,500. Now it's 800 a kilo. How do you think those families are going to survive? How do you think the family is going to survive for the rest of the year if they have to sell cocoa for 800 a kilo?
But some of these prices, Joanna, some of these prices are not, the prices are not being determined. They are not being determined by the Cameroonian authority, but of course at the international market.
Eventually, they are not determined by the international market. But what can the government do to sustain these families? That's the only job that they have. They are cocoa marketers. That's the only job that they have. That's the main question we must ask.
But if cocoa farming is not given, there are other branches of agriculture. You can grow up pepper, you can grow up okra, and there are other things. Why concentrating on cocoa, knowing fully well the prices, of course, would not meet up your expectations?
That's a good question. Why focusing on that? That's what they do. And there's nothing that I can possibly say to tell them why you're focusing on that or doing something else. That's what they start to do it. They like it. Let's leave it there. Well, I said, we as the government of Cameroon need to do something to sustain this family so they can maintain the financial stability. And it's just the farmers. It's not just the farmers, it's everything else in Cameroon. And again, I keep saying they have done some stuff, but at what pace? If you have to compare Cameroon to other countries, to other African countries, Cameroon is very behind compared to other African countries. And we've been having the same government for over 43 years. Nothing is really changing. We still keep going down, and that's the main problem. We need change. Yes, they're going to bring the change, but at what pace? It's very slow. The administration is slow. The decentralization, everything is like literally centralized in the big city like Yaoundé and Douala, and other areas like the northwest area are still struggling, and that's the main issue. What are we doing to sustain every single family? What exactly the government is doing? Yes, they have those big infrastructure. Yes, they have those big projects, but those projects are on papers. They are not in real lifetime. That's the main issue.
Thank you very much, Joanna Ambassa from the United States of America. Come to you, communication and political strategies, Dr. Moise Mbok. It is very obvious that a lot of projects have been set aside for over the years, and of course, it is under the banner of the national president, Paul Biya. It is no news that a lot of Cameroonians have been asking questions. Why is it that some of these projects are not being implemented? But when the elections are fast approaching, a lot of campaigns are being made and a lot of promises also are being made, and Cameroonians do expect more. But at the end of the day, after the election, Cameroonians do not see the full action. What is not right?
I think I want us to come back to our history, because I want Cameroonians to understand, and mostly CPDM to understand the mindset of some of us. 1992, the former president commission, let's say it like that, commission President Paul Biya by saying that we have started this journey, and this is the man that will carry us to the success. This is how Mr. Biya were introduced to Cameroonians. Up to 1990, when this conference of the Labol came for the multipartism, all Cameroonians were behind Paul Biya, following him, his instructions, and where we had to go. When it comes to multipartism, it was an expression of frustration. People were not happy by the way things were going. People were not appreciating the slowlessness in which we were involved in. And the first thing is that the CPDM and our president never understood that Cameroonians believe that we can do much better. Now,
Dr. Moise Mbok,
I'm coming to your question.
Dr. Moise Mbok, it is very clear that during elections, there are campaigns, statements that have been made. They will build this or build this. And after that, and of course, it is a CPDM party that do this, and they win elections, they win councils, they win and so on, sit in the National Assembly and the Senate and so on and so forth. But after these campaign strategies, after these words, people keep saying that they are not satisfied with what is being seen on the field. What is happening? Are these people being used just to get the ballot box or ballots, and then at the end of the day, their intentions or their presence is just being saluted with a bag of rice?
Poor political casting.
What is happening, first of all, poor governance. Secondly, lack of national vision. Thirdly, poor casting of the people that are supposed to carry the vision on. And fourthly, the absence of the president. Because, you know, when you commission somebody, you have to follow up. There's no follow up. That's why people can embezzle money. There's no follow up. That's why people can present a project and not implementing it. And nothing is happening.
Lack of monitoring and evaluation.
They will tell you this road, this highway, Douala Yaoundé, have took us a lot of money. Almost 14 years. and no MPs, no minister, nobody is talking about the thing as if it's a problem. They're just bringing excuses. You know, this thing is slow because it's a shame. So for me, I have a dream today. The CPDM must understand that Cameroonians are expecting much from them. They are bringing 3 and they are happy, while we are waiting 10. They will fight and bring 4 and they will be more happy. But Cameroonians are expecting 10.
Thank you very much.
So today, and I will end up with that, I have a dream.
Thank you.
That CPDM will bring up leaders that have in mind Cameroonians and their well-being, that have in mind to leave a legacy in such a way that when it comes to this project, the project will carry their name forever because they did it well.
Thank you very much. I'll come to you, Honorable Onjambenga Stephen. When you look at the evolution of the CPDM party and its development, do you think that 20 years behind as compared to when the CPDM party began in the country in 1985, do you think that there has been a lot of development infrastructurally, basic education, higher education, and so on and so forth, potable water and roads?
Of course, they are. Sometimes it's good that we should be honest to ourselves and put in our best to make things change. There have been a lot of changes, there have been a lot of development, but there's a problem at the level of implementations, which I think even the head of state, President Pobia himself, is getting fed up of the older generation and things that the rising generation should be given.
Why don't he sanction?
Permit me, sir.
Please.
I think that if we look at the rate at which projects are executed, there is some dishonesty within the level of those who are credited those projects to be realized for the betterment of the Cameroonian people. And so, like he said, sometimes in some offices, though, there's no proof, but then there is too much talking here about percentages collected here and there. Maybe it happens everywhere in the world. In America, they call it facts. Sure. They call it facts. But then, even if facts are collected, we should be having honest Cameroonians, honest people. When you stand up and say you want to do a job, you should have some values in you. Values that are God-fearing, knowing that you want to execute a job for a people. And you should also understand that the government did not make it wrong to create a project for those people at that area. So therefore, if you accept to give a fact somewhere and still collect a job, then you know that you'll be able to execute the job with what is left. So then, the level of implementation, this is where the problem is. And this is why they see them suffer a lot of attack here and there, because most of these contractors are failing us.
And they are CPDM party members.
You may say CPDM. I do not say so because they don't put on CPDM uniforms when they are executing this project. They are Cameroonians. So they are Cameroonians. I'm saying this because there is a project. I'm coming from Yi, the most enclave area in Momo Division. If you were to go to Momo Division, going to Ngi is a nightmare. Going to Njikwa is a nightmare. Okay? We have struggled, and the government have credited these subdivisions through the effort of the minister, Her Excellency Justice Misamba Acha. A project has been given for the roads to be rehabilitated. And some gamblers go and get the contract but cannot execute the work. Now, you see, the insult we receive on the field. I talk as a section president of the CPDM. All the attacks come back to the CPDM and to the leaders of the party. Whereas there's somebody sitting comfortable somewhere with chunks of money which the government have given them to execute work so that the people living within the area can feel part of this nation. And again, that contract was cancelled and was given to another gambler. And up to now, people are crying and suffering. A lot of people wanted to go to Ngi to celebrate the 41st anniversary of the CPDM. They could not. But I could not stay without going. I had to go myself and see the suffering of the people. Same thing in Chikwa. So when I hear people cry and talk of slow implementation, like our sister said, and that's true, we must decry this, we must say it outrightly.
But why is it that, Honorable, why is it that when you guys, when the CPDM do have a party rally, why is it that the militants can't come out courageously and denounce some of these actions of those people who are getting into contact with such a attitude?
No, the actions are not supposed to be done during anniversary of the party. What is supposed to be done during anniversary of the party is stock take. Okay? Section president should be able to present a report about the well-being of the people, not only the militant of the CPDM, but of that area, because he is a leader for that area. And so definitely we bring, it's a stock take time. We say, okay, we have bad roads, we have problem with waters, we have this electricity and all the like. And then the powers that be see at what level they can come in to be able to help us so that we remain credible before the people we call our militants. Okay? So if there is a slow implementation of a job, there are control mechanisms. These people, I'm saying this because tomorrow I'm going to go after some of these people who have collected projects and they are not doing the jobs. And the controllers are sleeping, they're doing nothing. These are the people failing the state. These are the people who are supposed to control and see that those things are done. If not, they report to the appropriate quarter, either the council, or they award the contract to a credible contractor who can deliver the thing, so the Cameroonians can feel better at home.
That is a problem with the Ministry of
Thank you.
Contracts.
Thank you very much.
We are supposed to come out with a list of contractors in Cameroon.
Thank you.
That is done. That is done.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
There is for every ministry, there is some accreditations to companies and regulations which you must meet up with. The point is people with bad faith. Okay? Yes. If you have values that are credible, you should know that you have been given a job to do something for people. Okay? And if you sit down and you don't do this, you're destroying not only the image of the state, but also those that suffer so hard to get this, because they go back to meet the same people, they get them promises, we are going to do this. How do you even face them?
Thank you very much. Before we continue, please, let me get the reactions of Cameroonians.
On it, lack of sanction.
Yeah, let me get the reactions of Cameroonians. Of course, a lot of them are writing both home and abroad. Good evening, dear panelists. I'm writing you from Florida. I'm happy to be part of your program today. You have a panelist that is in the United States of America. Congratulations. I just want to say that the Cameroonian government needs to do a lot and ought not to
continue.
We are sorry for this interruption. Of course, it is coming from the energy supplying company. Of course, we will continue with, reactions from contributors, from Cameroonians who are contributing. We're with somebody from the United States of America, Florida. Of course, the person is telling us that I'm happy with your program, and I just want you to continue on this slide. But the problem that the CPDM party is having today is a problem of management. The president of the republic, who happens to be the national president of the party, has a problem with selection of those who are supposed to man or execute projects in the country. The president needs to take strict control and revisit the moral aptitude of some of his ministers and those, of course, who needs to take contracts in the country. Of course, I will continue with some of them. Good evening. We take this one. This one is writing from Mangaundere. Good evening, dear panelists. I'm very delighted to be part of your program today. The CPDM, of course, at 10:41, but the problem that we have in Cameroon, it is not even actually the CPDM party. It is the mentality of those who are with the CPDM party. There are certain category of individuals who happens to be directors. They were with the CPDM party, working tirelessly, but once they gain position of responsibility, they forget about their obligation towards the party and the state of Cameroon. This is the problem that the party is having, and if President Paul Biya can actually implement a moral rectification within the party, then Cameroon will evolve. There's somebody writing us from Mangandro, of course, so we continue with the reactions. Good evening, dear panelists. I'm writing from Kumbam. I just want to remind Honorable Onjambeng Stephen that it is no news that everybody loves CPDM party, but the problem that we have with the CPDM party is those who are at the helm of power. It is clear today in our society that after a campaign, those who were not having any post of responsibility, once they access government positions or position of authority, these people don't even remember that they had friends who were in the quartiers or in the quarters. At one point in time, they do not even greet even their fellow family members. And once a contract is being awarded to them, they keep behaving as if they are the gods of the society. These are some of the attitudes that President Paul Biya needs to evacuate within the party. Of course, a lot of informations are coming, and I just want to believe that those of you who are writing, please make your write-ups short and clear, straight to the point, so that Cameroonians, of course, can actually get their own contribution. A lot of information is coming from Cameroonians. I just want to put this to you, Honorable Onjambeng and Stephen. You come to discover that Cameroonians, of course, are reacting in relations to what you just said when it concerns management and the execution of projects in the country. Why is it that these people, of course, they do not execute projects, or their party members at the end of the day, they do not execute project as it was meant to be, but they still find themselves working freely and still brandish the name of the party, putting on the uniforms and working left and right, saying that they belong to the CPDM and nobody can do anything to them?
No, that's wrong. That's wrong. The CPDM is not a place where people come to cover the dirty lineage. No, the CPDM is very transparent. It's a party. It's a party that has no soul. It doesn't speak. But those who put on the garment, the uniform, are the one that represent that party. And so I think that every section president has the responsibility to look at the militants in their section. And sometimes we have seminars to be able to educate and drill our militants about the kind of way they should behave in the society in order to represent the CPDM the right way. It is true that some militants of the CPDM are contractors. We cannot deny this. I think when we realize militants that have collected contracts and they are unable to execute it properly, because it's not all about executing, but properly. Because some executions, you look at them, it is better not even do it than to do what they do. We report to the hierarchy about this. And of course, you know, the Central Committee has a commission that sanctions. And even the public contract suspends some of the companies that have done poor jobs or have misbehaved. But I think that we still have to go deeper and deeper, because a lot of this corruption is not even at the level of the ministry. It is at the level of those at the divisional control committee that are supposed to supervise these projects and report back. Okay, Minister Nganu Njumesi is here one day. He issues a contract for a project to be executed maybe in Wom, in Cambe, and the rest of the other places. He's not going to live here and go there to control it. Of course, there's a regional delegate of Public Works for Northwest. There is a divisional delegate of Public Works in that division where the project has been given there, who goes there for control and reports back to hierarchy if the job is done properly. And so if they fail in doing their job, you see, this is what the problem is. These controllers are supposed to be looked upon and see if they are credible people. We don't just get any kind of person and make a supervisor to control a project that is going on somewhere. And then some of them even look at tips. You see, those facts that are given to them to cover their general report about what is happening on the field. And something is also poorly. The masses suffer. I am saying this because I'm a civil engineer. I feel the pain of the masses. And I look at the effort of the government, But this effort is not appreciated by the people because there's a poor job done, or some are not even done completely.
Thank you very much, Honorable Jambeng and Stephen. Cameroonians, of course, are very satisfied with some of your declarations. We are coming to the first end or the first phase of this program. I just want your last opinion. Tell us, what are the things that you are expecting from the CPDM in the coming days so that things should go smoothly and contracts that are being awarded to Cameroonians, of course, should be effectively done without any problems?
First, I appreciate the effort of the government, especially the Ministry of Public Works, the Ministry of Public Contracts. They are doing their job. They are doing their best. What I expect is that the local commissions that sits down to award contracts, they should be credible. Let us have some values that are God-fearing. Let us look at this nation, Cameroon, and feel for Cameroon. Because what I see is that most of these people who are given trusted power to be able to control these things do not love Cameroon, because if they love Cameroon, they'll be able to do a credible job without looking at facts. Yes, it's true that it's so tempting for somebody to refute facts, especially when you're hungry. But we can always make life better without looking at facts. There are many other opportunities. So I expect the father of the nation to be able to pass a firm decision to all the stakeholders that are handling projects which has been accredited to some areas in the country, to make sure that there is proper control and that jobs should be given to credible contractors who can be able to do it. Some may not be all that credible as we expect, but if there are control mechanisms, I think they will do their best.
Thank you very much.
If their best is not coming out because they are short, maybe of finance and all the other, they can abort the contract somewhere and re-award the contract to some other better people.
Thank you very much, Honorable Jambeng Stephen, President of Amumo West Tangi, and also a member of the Northwest Regional Assembly. I come to you, a local development expert at Changi Roosevelt. A few seconds, so we are already at the end of the first phase of the program. What are you expecting of the CPDM to do so that the party should stay and do what Cameroonians and party members are expecting of it?
Well, I think it's all about rigor and morality, and this rigor and morality should be highly implemented by the head of state, which I still have a problem because in our nation, the head of state seems to have impasse on everything. You know, when all of what we are saying here, if the justice system, if the judiciary were completely independent, you wouldn't have what we are having today. Because if the law states is very clear, if you still live in 100,000 francs, and you are denounced, you are supposed to be judged. I mean, 100 from 100,000, for less than 100,000, you are supposed to be judged.
Even just 100 francs.
That's what I'm saying. Yes. You are supposed to be judged in the competent court. It starts from the first instance, high court, before you can go to the special criminal court and all the like. But now you realize that most of these criminals who are involved in corruption, who are involved in not implementing projects, there's a lot of what we call interruption in the chain, in that when his file gets to somewhere, they'll tell that we are waiting for from hierarchy, that we are waiting the head of state to give his final say before we give a final ruling on this case. So I think that to solve this problem of impunity in our country, the judiciary should be given complete independence and their judgment should not be interfered upon.
Thank you very much, local development expert at Changi Roosevelt. Numfo Laosongwa, civil society activist, your last word to the end of this program.
Healthy debates should be encouraged within the CPDM so that management should start from bottom and go up. Then we are in an election year. We expect primaries to be organized within the party to choose candidates for municipal and parliamentary elections, and not the investiture from the Central Committee.
Thank you very much. Dr. Moise Mbok, communication, political strategist.
I believe the CPDM must encourage reforms in the National Assembly in such a way that in all levels, everybody that is responsible on a duty, as Honorable was saying, must be responsible indeed or follow up. And then we must bring up sanctions and inform populations in such a way that people will know that government is doing things, but the problem is here and there, and at the end of the day, people will change because they know that they can expose them.
Thank you very much. Of course, they can be exposed. I'll come to your last word, Joanna Ambassador, United States of America. Your last words. We are coming to the end of the first phase of this program. Of course, what are you expecting of the CPDM to make sure that the party moves forward and those who are in position of power can actually deliver to Cameroonians what Cameroonians are expected of them?
So I would say that 41 years is a lot, and we have been patient. So patience is no longer an issue. The issue is a decade of inaction while ordinary Cameroonians bear the cost. So everyday delay is a miss of opportunity, education, jobs for health, and the home. So we need for this government to create more jobs and then bring more security, safety for our children. That's what I would say. Thank
you very much for your contribution. Of course, we've come to the end of the first phase of this program. We'll be going directly to the second phase, which of course we'll be talking about the WTO World Trade Organization Ministerial Conference 14 in Yaoundé. Is it a turning point for Cameroon's economic transformation or just a diplomatic talk shop? This is what will be, of course, tabling or talking about in the course of the second phase of this program. But before we divert or get into it, let's have this little transition and we're back in a jiffy. November 14, of course, is unfolding in Yaoundé. Is it, of course, a possibility for Cameroon to gain economic transformation, or is it just going to be a diplomatic talk show? It is no news that on the 26th of this very month of March 2026, the World Trade Organization Ministerial Conference 14 unfolded in Yaoundé at the Yaoundé Conference Center, and of course the person that presided or is presiding over this very conference is no other person than Dr. Ngozi Iweala Okonji of Nigeria, and she is the Director General of WTO. And it is no news that the person also that is chairing this conference is the Minister of Trade, Luke Magloambaga Atangana, and of course over 4,000 stakeholders or diplomats or international participants are present in Yaoundé, and it is no news that this particular conference is being organized with a huge amount of money, billions of francs CFA, and the objective of it is to see how the participating country or member countries, which of course are 166, can come up with a reform so that they can tackle some of the trade irregularities that is unfolding throughout the world. Cameroon right now is at the center of attraction as of course a business is unfolding back there at the Yaoundé Conference Center. I'll put this into you, the Dr. Moise Ambok, who happens to be a communication development strategist. It is no news that Cameroonians, of course, are welcoming this very wonderful conference, and it is no news that a lot of African countries are present and also countries out of the borders of Cameroon. Now, tell us, do you think that within these 4 days of discussion, deliberations, and of course interaction with stakeholders, international stakeholders, of course, do you think that Cameroon is going to benefit economically from this very conference that is unfolding in Cameroon's political capital?
Definitely, if we organize ourselves better, we can benefit from it. First of all, some people are already benefiting of the thing: transportation, hostels, and you know, tourism. Many actors in the field are already benefiting on the activities. But I believe the government must work more with private sector in such a way that the entrepreneurs and everything around the trade and around the production must have access to those partners, because I think we can gain by creating links with international investors, creating links with partners that can help us to develop and to produce more. So we have the ground, and I believe, knowing Minister Atangana, with his made in Cameroon and other structures.
Of course, promoting made in Cameroon.
Exactly. So I believe he took measure to link Cameroonians that are already in the field with international partners in such a way that all the rules, all the laws that I will bring together must benefit Cameroonians and Africa. So they can do things, but it will depend on the strategy and how they will link people together to bring something new.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll come to you, Joanna Bassa. It is very obvious that a lot is unfolding back here in Cameroon, and foreigners are, of course, are presently in the country. Hotels, of course, are filled, and the streets of Yaoundé is benefiting a lot. But tell us, from your own perspective, how is this conference going to attract foreign investors into Cameroon?
Well, I would say, let's be realistic. Is it the first time we have those conferences? Are things really changed in Cameroon? I don't think so.
No, this is the first time Cameroon is hosting an event of this magnitude, talking about the World Trade Organization ministerial conference.
Yes, of course it's the first time they are the one that are receiving it, but it's not the first time that those meetings had happened. But what are we seeing for our Cameroonian? That's the main question. So it will be long on the pattern before, high level of declarations, strong speeches, ambitious communique, and very little change on the ground. Local business does not suddenly gain access to international markets. Farmers don't wake up to better prices, and then the young entrepreneur don't see new opportunity overnight. So why is this so? Because these conferences does not automatically translate into domestic transformation. Yes, Cameroon will be the one hosting it for the very first time, but before Cameroonians start hosting it for the very first time, those meetings already had happened. But have we seen anything for our own country? We haven't. So it's not because they are the one hosting it that a big change will actually happen.
Joanna, of course, this is an opportunity for Cameroonians. Now, tell us, you are out of the borders of Cameroon, you are in the US. How do you think this conference, of course, is going to be a platform to bring in investors in Cameroon, so that Cameroon's economy, of course, can be compared to the one that you are right now?
Eventually, it will bring investors. That's the thing. I believe that is the main goal, to bring investors in Cameroon. The main goal is to sell Cameroon to the big investors that we can actually do it. But are we really going to see it on action afterwards? That's the main question. We are going to bring the investors. We are going to bring the big people in Cameroon. Cameroon is going to show off. We're going to see the beautiful pictures, the speeches, communique, and whatsoever. But are we really going to see it on action? That is the main question. With this government that we have seen for the past, 43 years, and nothing has really been done, it's not that big of a meeting that's going to make a big difference. The global trade rules are negotiated in rooms where power dynamics matters. Larger economy dominate the agenda, while the small economy, like Cameroon, often adapt rather than the shape outcome. So while participation looks good diplomatically, the actual economic leverage remains limited. That's the big deal that we have in Cameroon.
Now, if you keep saying that that's a big deal, of course, it is no news that it is an opportunity for Cameroon, of course, to boost its economy. Now, tell us, do you see in the nearest future any economic benefits?
It will be a benefit for the economy, that's true. It will be. But the thing is, would it stay on paper, or will we actually seeing it? Would the fellow Cameroonian actually benefit from it? Do we actually live it? That's the main question. Yes, it's going to be a great opportunity. But from all the experience that we have had with our government, I'm still going to put a big question mark that our actual fellow Cameroonians will benefit from it, or is it going to stay just in the big chamber and then nothing plays in action? That's all I have to say. Were
you aware that this conference will be unfolding in Cameroon, or you're just getting it for the first time?
I'm aware of it. I'm aware that it's going to be on Cameroon. I'm aware of it. But I'm putting in a big perspective, or as we have had these meetings before. It's probably not held in Cameroon, but we had those meetings. Cameroonians were invited. We have seen what's going on. Other countries have benefited from it. Nothing in Cameroon. Now, the first time that it's going to be held in Cameroon, we're going to be like, okay, we're going to do some big stuff. You know, the investors are going to come to Cameroon and whatsoever. But are we actually going to see? That's my main question. And that's my big fear. That is my biggest fear. Are the fellow Cameroonians actually going to benefit from it? Or is it going to stay inside the big chamber and then the government is going to profit from it, the rich going to profit from it, and then the rest of the Cameroonians are not going to profit from it? That's my biggest fear. And that's where I'm going to stop. That is my biggest fear. We're going to sell our country, but what's going to happen after that? Are we just waiting? And that's the big problem. Are we just waiting for the big investors to come to Cameroon and invest while the actual government can do something for themselves? Question mark. That's the problem.
Thank you very much, Joanna Mbassa from the US. I'll come to you, a local development expert, an economist also. Do you think that these MC 24 or MC 14 that is unfolding in Cameroon, of course, it is going to last within a period of 29, from the 26 right up to the 29. Do you think that is going to provide job opportunities, or is going to translate to job creation and other economic opportunities in Cameroon?
Of course. I mean, let's not underestimate the power of this conference in Cameroon. I think from the beginning, Doctor already said it, you know, transportation companies are making a lot of money. I had the opportunity, you know, to take part in it. I saw the number of vehicles that were there. It's a lot of money. Hospitality, feeding, and the like. You have stands there. Young Cameroonians who, you know, who are manning the stands, selling. They're making money for themselves. So we cannot completely undermine it. And of course, the problem we have is when you are going to bargain, when you are going to a table, you always need to have what are you offering?
Yeah.
I think that is where we have the problem. Because sometimes when we talk about trade, we limit trade to our local level. When we are talking about trade, we are talking about two things: comparative advantage and competitive advantage. Comparative advantage has to do with what is it that you can do more? In what sector of your economy is it that you are better than any other country? And from there now they will say, okay, we'll consider you should be the main exporter of this product because comparatively you are the best in it. And secondly, we have what we call competitive advantage. Competitive advantage has to do now with innovation, technology. How competitive are you with other partners, not limiting yourself only to the comparative aspect of it. So generally, if we are going to the table, I think we need to have something. You know, for Africa in general, we have mostly raw materials.
Yeah.
So we should concentrate more on transforming these raw materials into finished products. I think that will make us more competitive, because when these big guns, the Europeans and the like, when they come and sit on the table, obviously they are ostentatious. They are ostentatious. Why? Because they have the upper hand. They have everything. They have the technology. They have the equipment. They have as much as, I mean, but we should see how we can transform our economy. That is going to make us now more ostentatious when we sit on such tables to dialogue. We say, no, we need this.
Yeah.
A good example, cocoa. I mean, last year cocoa was 5,000. Today we are talking about 800. How can we be in Africa, but the prices of our raw materials are being dictated by Europeans, are being dictated by world powers? It's not supposed to be so. And I think such conferences should handle such issues, of which some of them have been handled. Of course, tomorrow we are going to get the total recommendations of all the sessions that have been taking place. But I think that, and I still believe that such conferences will not be beneficial to us if we ourselves are not competitive enough, if we ourselves are not comparative enough.
Thank you very much, Anchang V. Roosevelt. It is very obvious. I'll come to you, Honorable Stephen Ojambeng. It is very obvious that, of course, a lot of situations are unfolding back there at the Yaoundé Conference Center as the World Trade Organization MC14 is unfolding. And people keep saying that when there is a conference of this magnitude, it is those foreign superpowers that do benefit. Do you think that Cameroon, we do have a say when it concerns reforms and policies to be adopted?
I know, yes, of course. We have a lot. We have a very powerful rising generation, Cameroonians who are out of Cameroon, and they're making a big time in foreign countries. And the problem we have is that we are not positive enough. We are not positive. I'm happy that our brother here sounds so positively and outline the advantages and the hypotheses which we are all seeing. I think that this World Trade Organization is an eye-opener. It's coming to Cameroon as an eye-opener, and the outcomes may encourage Cameroonians who are out of the country to fall back at home and see how they can develop, you see, our economy, and see how we can get to a level where we get to compete with other nations. There are a lot of people who are going to learn knowledge. It is not only the practical benefits, but also get knowledge.
Honorable, presently, during the opening ceremony, Cameroonians were there. There were a lot of stands that were there. People went there to get in contact or see how things are unfolding. But the following day, the turnout wasn't as compared to what it was during the opening ceremony.
I can't explain. Because I've not been there, and
you cannot. Maybe I help, Honorable.
Yes, because
you cannot compare the first day and the second day.
You know, does it mean that Cameroonians who went there during the opening ceremony went there just to see how beautiful the place is and welcome the visitors?
No, the first day had, you know, its grandiose ceremony, all public figures. You don't expect our public figures to spend 3 good days in an area. They have work to do in the office.
I'm talking about Cameroonians.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Of course, but I'm talking about
Cameroonians.
Of course.
Now, those who are there are those who are directly involved in the discussions. And let me tell you this. Professionals and the like, businessmen and women.
Yeah, exactly.
And I must say, the conference itself, is the security there is top-notch. That's something I noticed. Top-notch. It's not from the gate down at Palais de Congrès. If you don't have the badge, if you were not accredited from day one, you will not even have access to it.
Of course, just to corroborate to what you're just saying, that during the opening ceremony, the Prime Minister, Head of Government, Chief Dr. Joseph Dion Gute, had to represent President Paul Biya, Head of State of Cameroon, during the opening ceremony. I'll come back to you, Changvi Roosevelt. I'll put this to you now, civil society activist Numfola Osongwa. What is Cameroon going to gain from this?
A lot of positive fallouts from the World Trade Organization meeting session that is going on presently going on in Cameroon, in Yaoundé. We know from an economic perspective, or let me say from a diplomatic perspective, Cameroon will benefit from this event as it will put Cameroon on the economic map of the world.
Do you think that Cameroon hosting this event is a sign of trust?
Of course, it's a sign of trust. It's a sign of trust.
What kind of trust are you talking about?
Yes, it's a sign of trust. Cameroon is deeply rooted diplomatically. Cameroon has very deep diplomatic taproots that no one can deny. And we have a relative security and peace. I'd say relative that we still enjoy in an Africa that is like a turbulent ship in an ocean. We still enjoy at least that aspect of security. Then, you know, it is going to put Cameroon on the tourism map of the world. Because, you know, as they come like that, after tomorrow's event, they will not just go back. There are some that would like to visit other parts of Cameroon. So when they go there, hotel business will bloom and other catering services will bloom.
For Lawson, it is very obvious that for the past years, Cameroon has been talking about promoting import substitution. Now, when it comes to reforms in relations to import substitution, we come to discover that Cameroon needs to, of course, produce more and import less. Now, do you think that these reforms, because we have international conventions that do restrict some African products not to enter into the world market, do you think that at this level, CEMAC, for example, which happens to, of course, Cameroon happens to be the bread basket within this region. Do you think that Cameroon, of course, we have a serious say when it concerns the implementation of these international policies?
Remember that the World Trade Organization has a say concerning the trade policies of member nations. And if the CEMAC countries are all members of the World Trade Organization, it means that the Director General coming here will have to talk something about the refusal of some countries within CEMAC. You know, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, they are very, very negative when it comes to regional trade.
Hostile.
Yes, so they have to talk to them. And then secondly, the agreements, every ministerial meeting of the World Trade Organization ends with, you know, it is the ministerial conference is the highest decision-making organ of that organization. And at the end of it, there are so many trade rules and regulations that are adopted And of course, these trade rules and regulations, they affect, you know, the area of trade barriers, trade tariffs, and so on and so forth.
Cameroon produce, of course, crude oil, but Cameroon does not refine. What is happening?
Cameroon,
do you think that this is going to be a better platform?
Yes, made in Cameroon goods will benefit from the lifting of tariffs and barriers at the international market. Just yesterday, there was a very important decision that was taken, one of the recommendations. While waiting for the final recommendations to be taken, you know, a very, very important recommendation came out of that meeting yesterday concerning the agreement on fisheries subsidies. Fisheries subsidies, which Cameroon signed yesterday. And that by that
that same agreement, that same agreement also was signed during the previous 13th ministerial conference.
Yes, but Cameroon has officially ratified it, which means that it is now going to become part and parcel of the normative nomenclature of Cameroon, and it is going to be positive for us. It's going to be a positive fallout for us because it's going to protect our our coastal marine fishing ecosystem. You know, for the past, since 2023, the European Union has slammed sanctions against Cameroon because Cameroon has failed to control overfishing within its territorial waters. So, signing up to this agreement on fisheries subsidies, Cameroon will control the activities of trawlers or of ships of foreign companies. The worst thing is that many of the fish caught within Cameroon's territorial waters, they don't even find themselves on the Cameroon market. And the trawlers and all those small boats that use illegal and unreported means of catching fish, you know, they don't even belong to Cameroon. We allow our territorial waters for foreigners to come in, catch our fish, catch even the small ones that we're supposed to be allowed to reproduce. They catch all of them and go and take them out of the country, whereas we keep importing fish. So this is a very important development that has taken place so as to protect our marine life within our ecosystem.
Thank you very much, Anum, for Lausongwa. Dr. Moise Mbog, of course, Joanna, you have something to say?
Yes, I wanted to add something. Someone mentioned, one of the panelists mentioned about hotel blooming and whatsoever. I want us to understand that this is not a one-day event. It must be a continuation of the growth of our Cameroonian economic. So the transformation will not happen in conference hall. The transformation will happen through bold decision, consistent policy, and implementation. And it will not happen magically. So if we don't have the actual strategy, nothing will change in the country. So even initiatives like the African Continental Free Trade Area, which holds a real promise, require serious domestic preparation. So if local industry are not competitive, opening markets can actually expose them to stronger foreign competition rather than empowering them. So when someone actually mentioned about the raw material, we need to actually focus on those raw materials that will actually help us to grow our economy. So the issue of this meeting to happen in Cameroon is not just the attendance, it's the impact. So and I would add by saying that too many conferences become diplomatic showcase where governments signal engagement to the international community without delivering concrete benefits from home. So we need to have a better strategy. We need to have people that take bold decisions inside those conferences and actually implement it. Not just keep it in the big chamber, but we actually need to actually see it inside our government so the economy can actually continue to grow. It's not going to be a one-day event. It has to be a continuation of the growth of our economy. That's what I have to add.
Thank you very much. I'll come to you, Dr. Moise Mbog. Of course, we're already at the end of the program. Just this last question before we say goodbye to our panelists. Of course, for over the years, has Cameroon ever secured any tangible, deals when it concerns conferences like this?
Yeah, I believe Cameroon, we can do that. As I was saying, we can do that. It depends on the strategy we put on place. And if we put proper strategies, we can at least benefit from partnership that will increase our economy. And I believe today, Cameroonians are all aware that we must do something new we must do something better. All the ministers, all the government, all the private sector, all the businessmen, they know that the world is, changing. And if we don't do something as Cameroon, other countries around will beat us and do more than us. So it's a challenge. We have to take it and run to succeed and bring out the difference. I want to just add some figures. The government will spend almost 15 billion on the organization, but at the end of the day, the income is the double. It's 30 billions because of the expenses people bring out. We have 4,000 delegates that are coming, so many people will come and they will use the money. So this money is put for the country, but at the end of the day, we are gaining in learning on how others are proceeding. We are learning from them, we take from them, we link. We have to create a link with them and then continue. And as she was saying, it should not be a one-day event. The government must continue on underground work in such a way that maybe in 2 years' time, in 5 years' time, we create something that will emerge because of this conference.
Thank you very much, dear panelists. Thank you for coming really to the end of this program. Although there is no time, I know you guys are disgruntled because of time constraint, but we've come to the end of the program. Thank you very much, Honorable Stephen Ojambeng, for your presence. CPDM President Momo Wesangi and member of the Northwest Regional Assembly. Thank you very much for your presence.
Thank you. The pleasure is all mine.
Thank you.